Hello, my name's Danny Halprin.
And I'm Tom Graham.
I'm a 24-year-old audio engineer. I have been a professional for 5 years. I moved down to Nashville about 9 months ago. I'm currently the monitor engineer for Tyler Farr and the front of house / monitor engineer for a band called Everett.
I am also a live sound professional touring audio engineer. I've been doing live sound professionally for 8 years. I moved down to Nashville 5 years ago, and I've been touring for 4, pretty much full time. Currently, I am front of house engineer for Scotty McCrary.
So we got a few questions from some of our younger audio friends, some of which were, what do you bring on tour? And kind of part of that question was, and what is in your Pelican, or what do you bring? So we'll be addressing that today. Cool. Here we go.
So we'll start with mine. I've got the old trustworthy Pelican 1510. This is their carry-on size. It's not the lightweight one. And there's a lot of orange because that's my fiance's favorite color, so I just like having orange around with me. No other reason than that. And that's the logo that you'll see on the website kind of all over the place, and random stickers. Shout out, Kind Lion Sound. What up? And yeah, this kind of goes with me everywhere. It's heavy, but it's not heavy enough to incur an overweight baggage charge, even in an overhead bin. But it is a big old Pelican, so if I have to gate check it, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah.
So that's me.
Sweet. And then I have this really heavy thing. So
I like you call it your work box, which I appreciate.
Yeah, this is I have this labeled as tape and tools, because that's what it started as.
Tape and tools.
So I haven't got a fly date yet, which is why this is so heavy. And this is quite full because I am now new to the having gear provided and having things available aspect of touring.
Real quick, is this a Pelican?
Oh, so this is not a Pelican. I call this a Pelicant because I got it at Harbor Freight.
For, I bet, like a third to half the price that I paid for mine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Probably. Because I was getting into touring and stuff, and I didn't have the money yet to drop. So this worked, because before this, I had a wheelie version of another case like this that was like $30 or $40 or something like that. So I got this guy, and it kind of filled that void for now.
And you spend most of your time standing on it, you said.
Yeah, I stand on it a fair bit. I'm not the tallest person in the world, and it helps, especially at monitors, to have a better vantage point and be able to be seen, and also to be able to see the stage.
And hey man, I don't see any cracks on it, so I think you're doing fine.
Well, thanks.
That's great.
Sweet. So that's my case, and it probably weighs a good bit. So we're gonna open up our cases and kind of talk about what we have and why, where we got it, and why we might have different things, stuff like that.
This Pelican that we're going to dive into right now is my essentials. I'm mixing. This is what I need to do my day of just mixing, not providing everything I need for a band. So here's my front of house Pelican.
Sweet.
So talkback microphone. It's the cheapest Sennheiser switched microphone I could find. The Shure microphone switches stick up a lot, and I've had them hang up on stuff. So this one is nice and slim. And this is the Sennheiser I've taped over it. It's like the 820, or it's like the 635. It's the cheap. I think it was $60 on Amazon.
Totally.
But it's only for front of house. That's why I have the switch.
And it's got tape on it.
And it's got tape. Almost everything of mine, if it isn't orange, has orange tape on it. And I just say, like, if we need to borrow something of mine, it's like, if it has orange tape on me, it comes back to me at the end of the night. So
that's great.
Definitely. So like, you'll see that theme of all my stuff is it's got orange on it. You can just find it really easily. Backup mic, like just this, and Danny, you'll back me up on this.
Yeah, definitely.
SE V7. This is the absolute best vocal microphone for the money.
Oh, absolutely.
It's $100, and it's the best vocal microphone I think I've ever heard. It's the best, live vocal microphone. Almost everything in here is just if something goes bad. So if someone needs a hardwired microphone,
it's good to have
what I have. More spares. I just got a pair of small diaphragm condenser mics. These are Studio Projects C4s. They're pretty old, but basically you'll see what I have in my spares is that I have a spare for kind of the different categories of microphones. So I have a handheld dynamic. You'll see I have a clip-on dynamic, and then I have some condensers. So I can throw this on my overheads or my hat if that fails. The clip-ons I can put on the snare or toms if that fails, and I can put the handheld vocal microphone on guitars or literally anything else that fails. So between those three microphones, I can kind of cover all my bases if something fails.
That's a great idea. I like that.
Clip-on tom mics. I spent the money and got the 935, the 904. These are one of my top 2 favorite tom microphones.
For sure.
They just sound good. There's just not much around it. Let's see, what else do I got? That ends the microphones that I've got. Excuse me, with this exception. I have the super cheap DBX. I did go in on getting a version of Smart. I have DI2, which is one that's about half price. And this is my measurement microphone that I use for my little Smart rig. I do not use Smart for frequency tuning. I do that completely by ear. All I really use Smart is for phase and timing alignment.
Okay.
So you can do that with an SM58 if you want. But the phasing stuff, like when you're trying to align your tops with your subs, this was like maybe $100.
Totally.
And to go along with that, I think a friend of mine didn't need this anymore, so I just ended up with this 2-channel Focusrite interface, literally the cheapest interface you can find, and then
and they're still built well.
Yeah, they're totally fine. And then just this guy goes into an output, so that's my pink, and then the other channel goes to the console. Nice. So that's my Smart rig right there. Sweet. So again, cheap and cheerful. It doesn't need to be crazy. You don't need to go out and spend. How much is one of the really crazy, like the Earthworks? $1,400?
Something like that.
Don't do that. Don't do that until someone else is going to pay for it for you.
That's a good point.
So great. And then along the lines of system tuning, this is my digital sound level meter, V-like. This was almost the cheapest one that you could get on Amazon. I wanted one with a digital readout rather than the analog needle. For one, because you can hold, so you can set it for a max, and it'll just hold whatever the loudest volume was on this.
That's helpful.
You can switch between A and C weighted, which some venues like to see. And also, what I really have this, I'll turn it on just to make sure that I'm in the ballpark, which you end up with a kind of a knowledge like this feels like 95, this feels like 100. But when a promoter comes up and says that, oh man, you're really loud, or if your tour manager comes and says, man, this feels really quiet, it's really helpful to be able to put numbers to that conversation, is what I've found. So you can say well, this is what I'm reading, and this is what the law says that I need to be at, or this is what our rider says that we should be at. So it's really just good to have some numbers to be able to put in that conversation of you're too loud, and instead of it being a completely subjective conversation. So there's plenty of more expensive ones. There are some cheaper. Just get one with a digital readout, and it's like a 9-volt battery in the back. It's great. Amazon.
To add to that, I think that's a really good reason to have that as a standalone device, because I've been using an iPhone app, and if you are trying to have weight or something in a conversation where somebody is either accusing you of being too loud or something like that, and you pull out an iPhone app, it might not have the same weight as you showing somebody a standalone, like, scientific looking device, you know? So there's also that aspect of having an actual dB meter.
I've just found that I like any excuse to not have to pull out my phone. So I actually don't normally carry this with me, but this is if you're going to be recording your shows, like a lot of tour management want you to do, storage space is so cheap. I got this at Costco. This was $100. This is 5 terabytes.
It's pretty good.
You know, we have it on the computers at front of house and monitors, but those computers fill up pretty quickly. So this is basically an archive and just some other shows. Like if I want to bring something home and try it out in Pro Tools, I can do that. So
totally.
That's that. Snacks. You just don't know if something's going to go wrong and not going to be able to get lunch. So some like these are Laura bars, but like, you know, Cliff bars, something high calorie that you can just go, let's see, what do I got? E-tape. Always. In
case you need to make a loom.
Or
quickly.
Or literally anything. I always have some form of an aux cable. I prefer to go in 1/4 inch because if you go in 1/8 inch to XLR and then accidentally press phantom power, you will fry the headphone jack in your device.
It happens to many people.
Danny, has this happened to you?
It has not, but I've watched people do it, and it's pretty embarrassing.
Speaking of which, I actually bought an iPod Touch just for my system tuning music. That way I don't have to leave my phone out. Like if it has walk-in music, I don't have to leave my phone. I don't have to leave my iPad or anything like that. This is the only thing on here. Actually, there's 2 things. There's my walk-in Spotify playlist, and then there's also the only thing in the iTunes library is our walkout music. So if for whatever reason I don't have the computer out that has the walkout song, and they're very serious, like as soon as the show's done they want walkout music, so I just have this ready, and that's the only thing I use this for.
Smart.
I just keep it offline, no notifications. I've got some batteries. It doesn't matter what, just have some AA's and some 9 volts because things like that go bad. And then really the only tool that I carry in my day-to-day Pelican is my mini screwdriver. It's got a bunch of little attachments, but most importantly, the one that I want to talk to you about is Torx bits, which you won't find on a lot of these little screwdrivers, but Torx bits are becoming more and more common when pro audio stuff is put together because they don't want a lot of people messing with it. But if you need to get into it, you need to get into it. I had an SC48 go down. That's fine, but they're all held together with like T6 Torx bits. So so I would really recommend having some. Like all computers at this point are being held together with Torx bits. So have a little bitty screwdriver so you can get into your microphone or whatever, and then have a little bitty Torx bits so you can fix audio stuff.
Good to know.
iPhone charger, because they die. Yeah.
Totally. Sweet.
So again, this is the Pelican that I need for mixing front of house. Everything else, I mean, if it's something more than that, it's pretty catastrophic. But those are just some spares that we can have to keep the show running.
Totally. So that's like your everyday, you get to the venue, you bring that in.
I get really mad if I get off the bus and I forget to get it. So like I have coffee in this hand, Pelican in this hand. And that's my morning. Drag it out to front of house. And leave it there until we, So it's pretty much the first thing in and the last thing out of the venue. Just because, it's my talk back. It's my It's kind of my everyday mixing things. Danny, what's in your Pelican?
Pelican.
What's in your Pelican?
All right, here we go. Let me just open this guy. I will say the difference between the Pelicans and the Pelican is that these little locks or whatever, I don't really trust them nearly as much as those. They scare, especially for how much stuff I have in here. They kind of scare me. Some of what I've done, because a lot of times what I'm transitioning out of is being the only production person. So I kind of set up my case so that if somebody in the band or something like that needed something that I had, batteries, an extra cable, guitar picks, or whatever, I have my case laid out and labeled so that somebody else could get something out of it while I'm doing something else.
You're transitioning out of being the only person that can fix things day in and day out.
Right. So the other thing is, Tom has already kind of shown you a few things, and I might also have some of those things, and I might have an unnecessary number of those because of, you said, being the only person, or maybe you are in a city where there isn't a guitar center, or somebody forgets something because there isn't a backline tech to help, or whatever.
All right, let's get to yours.
Sweet. So first things first, sitting on top of everything is I have this guy, which is, so these are all gaff tape, and these are all very thin and different colors so that I can signify different things. I also have a roll of black gaff and a roll of white gaff because you always need those things. And this was from and is for when I don't have a workbox with a million rolls. So gaff tape. Put that back in there, and that sits on top. That doesn't have a fancy component yet. I have a short extension cord because there have been times where I'll get to a console or something and need to plug my laptop in, and there's not another outlet nearby or whatever. In addition to this, I also have a 3-tap that I plug into this that's in one of these bags. Also coming out of this kind of sometimes sketchy DIY thing, I have this little guy, which is like a mobile GFCI or whatever, so it has a trip in it so that if something does short, it'll shut off. Because as somebody who also plays, I've definitely played some places where you plug into the power and it's pretty sketchy.
In my other Pelican, I have a non-contact current tester, so you can touch the mic, and if there's 120 volts on the mic, you can tell before touching it.
Absolutely. So I have this just in case you have to do something and the power is sketchy, at least it will shut off rather than shutting off your part. So there's that. And then what else? I have a tape measure because you never know when you might need to. Cool. Moving on, I have a cable tester. I have the Behringer
I've got that one.
Yeah. And I tape over the switch because this thing just rides loose in the case as well, and it often turns on its own and then drains the battery.
It goes to the battery test mode, and so and the lights are always on.
So that way,
pro move.
Pro moves. So now I will go through the different bags and stuff that I have in my workbox. I have everything numbered. And many of the bags are different colors, so that if somebody were, like I said, I'm doing something else, and the bass player of whatever band or whatever needs something, and I might have it, I can tell them to go check my workbox, and then in the lid of my workbox, I have kind of like categories and what color and number they are, so that if somebody needs, guitar picks or something like that, they can go, oh, well, number 9 says music stuff. So they can open that one up. So we'll go over that in a second. So we will start with the first bag, number 1, which is orange. So I bought a bunch of these little canvas bags on Amazon for maybe $12 or $11 or something like that. I thought about using mic bags, but those are a little bit smaller and they're all black. So I did this so that they would be bright. I'm pretty sure that this is literally the color I chose because the batteries that I was putting in it were orange at the time.
Have those around.
And because we were talking about how my brain works, this is also in here because it also has to do with power and it also is orange. So this is just a spare male Edison plug in case you get to somebody and they have a guitar amp that has the ground ripped off. That way you've no excuse. You can cut that end off and put a new fresh end on, and then you don't have to worry about somebody's amp buzzing every night. So that is batteries. I'm gonna put that up there. And then the second bag is brown tools, and this is many things. So I have.
Good Lord, Danny.
There's a few things in there. Let me see if I can fish out the essentials.
I have one.
This is great. So this is a magnet on a stick, so that if you drop a screw in something, you can very easily get it back out. I was working on the engine for an S6L, and you are unscrewing the inside of like the engine, and if you drop one of those screws between the cards that are this tall, you need to be able to get a screw out. So I got that tool at Harbor Freight for maybe $2, and it's great.
Excellent.
What else is important? I have in here a little set of vice grips, a little baby one so it fits in this bag. I have a whole bunch of different screwdrivers of different sizes because carrying a multi-tool is awesome, but sometimes the actual screwdriver portion of the multi-tool
is terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that.
Wire strippers.
Wire strippers.
You can literally fix everything.
That's the goal.
Pretty much.
Real scissors, because the little tiny baby scissors on my multi-tool kind of suck. I made a little sheath for them so that they don't cut a hole in the bag. My dad just sent me this little tiny baby screwdriver that looks like a pin. So that was cool because he knows I like tools like this. I have, there you go. Somewhere in here, I have a bunch of little husky. This is really important. So this is a pair of diagonal cutters that are really good for trimming the ends of zip ties. So one of my worst parts of audio is sometimes getting cut by zip ties that are in racks.
Yes.
So this allows me to cut them relatively flush. And then also it's good to have a screwdriver that has different ends on it so that you can have multiple screwdrivers in one spot. You can also take that apart, flip it around, and you have multiple screwdrivers in one screwdriver.
Look at you.
It helps to have a dad that works at Lowe's. Say that. Alright, cool. So a bunch of other screwdrivers and stuff like that. Put this all back. So we're also going to go on to my green bag, which is adapters.
Love it.
And in here I have all sorts of adapters that I might need.
I'm so impressed.
Thank you. So I have some Ethercon barrels.
That's very good to have around.
You
Everything's
never
Ethernet
know.
now, so have a barrel.
I have some fun Ethercon stuff as well. I have this, which is eighth, to RCA.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Over Ethernet, over CAT, and it works. So that's cool. I have this, which is Ethernet to male and female XLR, so that I can run a microphone down a CAT line. So I had 3 or 4 CAT cables running the front of house, and I could do my talkback, my house music, and control or whatever, and a spare. So that's why I have those. And then another barrel. So I also have multiples of a lot of things. This is female XLR to female TRS, so that if you need a headphone extension, you can actually use a TRS to male XLR cable and put it in. Yeah. So it can get signal, which a lot of times is just what you're looking for. Some turnarounds.
Definitely.
I have a lot of those in here. I have the most important adapter now, which I've wrapped in electrical tape so that it's more sturdy, which is the iPhone adapter. So it's their lightning connector to 1/8 inch. I have this thing somebody gave me, an Extreme Hum Fighter where it lifts the ground and reverses the polarity. I haven't had a need for this yet, but somebody gave me that. And there's some other things in here. RCA to TS. Sometimes, like if I wanted to use this and I wanted to go into the 1/4 inch, I could go like that or whatever. This is a TS barrel if I needed to extend a 1/4 inch or something. Doesn't happen as much anymore, but these are things that I have. Anyway, and then gray audio cables. So I have this cable that we talked about already.
Always.
I have an ADAT cable because I had a spare and I figured I would rather have this if somebody's using a recording interface. This is a XLR cable that has a pad in it.
Ooh.
Somebody gave this to me a long time ago, and I've just had it in case you're in a situation where you need to and you can't, or there isn't one.
Fair enough.
And then typically I try to have at least one of any sort of like bending of a cable or whatever, because stupid stuff happens.
Yes, it
and
does.
you never know. So this is XLR to RCA, female XLR. I have a couple of Ys or splitters, because you never know. I've used them before. A couple TRS to male XLR.
That's definitely, yep. I like that.
And then I have a very obnoxious, just short XLR. So that if I need to hook up my talkback microphone and there isn't another spare or whatever,
Yeah,
I
cool.
can do that.
That's smart.
This is another cable that someone gave me, which is just RCA to male XLR, which I have never used. This is just a TRS cable to TRS. So I try to have a little bit of everything,
Sure.
because I've been in the situation where I am the person that can solve a problem, and only I. Here's my talkback mic, which is in a KSM bag, and it is not a KSM.
I was about to say, like, that's a really nice microphone.
No, this is a Samson Q6.
Oh, you got me beat.
Which is, I think, the second microphone I ever owned. And I probably got it at Best Buy, and it's probably $40 or something like that. But it has a switch on it, which is important. I also have number 5, which is blue, which is
gracious.
other cables that aren't audio cables. So here's a 3-tap so that you have that. This is a little shorty so that if you have a wall wart type plug that needs to plug into a power conditioner and you can't because it doesn't fit.
Wow!
You can plug that in because it's a standard size, and then your wall wart can plug into that and be wherever it needs to be.
There you have it.
This is also to prove that an outlet is technically wired legally and correct.
Right, yeah.
Sometimes you can do things to fake that, but at least that way, if I think something's not grounded and it's really not grounded, I can plug that in and at least see it, and it gives you a visual.
Yeah. Yep.
That's not like law or anything like that, but it's a helpful tool to have. This is a little like multi-voltage adapter that I haven't had to use in a long time, but it could be used as a
I see.
pedalboard
Okay, for
power.
pedalboard and stuff. It's not for international, like 120 versus
No.
240 kind of thing. But okay,
It's like,
cool.
do you need a 9-volt or a 12-volt or whatever? This is a little USB to USB-C. This is a spare USB to like 30-pin, because I also carry an old iPod, so it's nice to have a spare.
Dang.
A lot of times people ask, does anybody have a spare phone charger? And I always try to bring one, because a lot of times, the whole point of you being there is to solve somebody's problem. We're supposed to be problem solvers.
Right.
So I would like to have very obviously this doesn't belong to you, because it's taped up.
Right.
But this is a spare phone charger.
I actually write my initials on all of my phone stuff.
That's a good. I'm gonna start doing that. That's smart. Okay, cool. So there's that. I have another very obvious. This is probably not yours because it's red. This is just a Cat 5e, and I have a spare BNC.
Ooh, hot take. what impedance is that cable?
That's a good question. I added this to my bag before I learned about all that. So I actually don't know. Luckily, I haven't had to use it yet. However, that is a very good question.
75 ohm cables are used for video connections, and 50 ohm BNC connectors are for RF.
Right, so that would be a good piece of information to have, because the goal with this would be to, oh crap, my antenna's not working.
Right, and that has happened to me, so that's a really good idea to have one of these guys around.
Those are my other cables. So and like I said earlier, a lot of this is so that if somebody else is trying to get something and I'm busy, they can at least have an understanding of where to go. So if they're looking for something that isn't an audio cable, but it's a cable.
It's probably another cable.
Right. So there's that. And then, like I said earlier, I do a little bit more, possibly more patch stuff because of the nature of my job. So this is E-tape and zip ties, and this is in yellow. A bunch of zip ties. You never know, held together with a zip tie. Black E-tape, and then I'll try not to take them all out, but just about every color that you would need.
Amazing.
Because a lot of times people are color coding, and a lot of what I do is, labeling rigs for people or building snakes for things like that. So it's helpful to have, resistor code E-tape. I have another pair of scissors that just lives in here. I got these at Harbor Freight for like $1 probably.
There you
go. So that was yellow. That was my E-tape and zip ties. And now I'm moving on to the smaller bags that aren't colors. So everything's still numbered though. So if somebody were to look at my little key or whatever,
that's amazing.
They would be able to find stuff. So number 7, and these are just in little SE mic bags. I have as Multitools. And by Multitools, I mean tools that have multiple tips. So this is like Allen, and this is those bigger like T30, T20.
Yep.
Different Allen, and then smaller
Torx
as well. And they have my name on them, and they have my company initials of Kind Lion Sound on them, and they all kind of just barely perfectly fit into this little bag, and they make it like a perfect little rectangle, which is really pleasant.
I like that.
So there's that. Number 8 is pens and Sharpies, or I have it written on here, writing supplies, because that happens. So sometimes you need to handwrite something. It also has Velcro in it, so that I can have not E-tape on XLR cables every night, because that's pretty annoying to me. In here I have a USB key. I have these scattered throughout everything just as kind of like an oh crap in case, I don't know, I try to have my scenes saved in multiple locations in case my backpack gets stolen or something in an airport or whatever. I could still have my scene in the Pelican that was on the bus meeting us there.
Sure.
Something like that. So there's that. That has a tail on it, so it's easier to not lose. This is a bag of little cards, my business card, and some stickers in case I meet somebody that wants one. I have silver Sharpies and black Sharpies, just normal pens, because sometimes you just need to write normally. And then this is another shop thing.
That is the most shop thing.
This is a clever cutter. So this is a safety cutter, and this is the best and fastest and easiest way to cut through E-tape when you have to take looms apart really quickly, or you get a loom from a shop and it's not right, and you have 30-40 minutes to fix it, or turn a cable around or something like that.
Yeah.
Rather than dulling your knife and cutting towards you constantly.
Yeah, or cutting into cables.
Right. This only just has a little bit of a sharp edge, and it is sharp, but you just can't get your fingers in there or whatever, and it allows you to slice through E-tape.
That's pretty slick. I like that.
Which is great, and that's in there. And then I also have a spare LED remote, because a lot of racks have LEDs in them now. So if you lose your remote and then something's stuck on, rather than just unplugging it, you can change the color and all that.
It's amazing.
So this is the kind of catch-all music bag. This is my last bag that I have. This is number 9. This is a bottle opener that is the shape of a guitar.
Crucial.
That is on the music because it's related. So there's that. Beer. And then in here, actually, I have a laser tape measure, which is kind of cool. So you can turn that on.
Is that a distance finder?
Yeah, and because this was not just $1, it has my name on it and my number, so that if I do lose it and somebody is nice enough, they could return it. And then this is a whole bunch of like random things musicians might need.
Cymbal felts, I see.
I have a guitar winder, a guitar string winder, an extra clutch, because as a drummer, a lot of times drummers forget that. A nice drum key, a couple of them. I also have a little tiny gooseneck because sometimes...
Just never know when the price is going to be right.
Right, you never know. An extra felt, an extra... These are like technically... They're quick releases, but I think they're technically an LO2 something or other, right?
Yeah, always good to have extras of those.
So I have a spare of that. I have a spare patch cable for guitar pedals because those break a lot. I have a bunch of generic tips for generic IEMs. And then I have a whole bunch of other guitar picks of different weights and types.
Is that a little Euro adapter?
Yeah, I have a few of these as well. And then I have the charger cable for the little remote
the boy
as well. That's for when I'm on a tour and I don't have a guitar tech with me,
right,
or something like that. Because like if you have a guitar tech, they're gonna do all the work.
Right.
So there's that, and then last thing that's in here is I have a first aid kit because you never know when you might get injured or somebody around you might get injured, and it's nice to at least have basics. I don't have a red bag because this is red, and I have that labeled in there. So there's that. I have a pair of drumsticks because you never know when you need a headphone stand. If you're using headphones at front of house, you know, if their stick bag gets stolen or whatever, or something stupid happens, at least I have a pair of very warped, kind of bananaed drumsticks that technically work. So there's that.
Better than slapping cymbals with your hands.
Right. And I guess one of the last things is I also have, and this comes from the teching kind of thing, I have a little bit of tie line with me as well.
A little bit, that's like a quarter-mile tie line.
So that if I need to tie something down, or I need to create something, or it's raining and all of a sudden when we go to tarp your console at front of house, you know, you gotta be able to hold it down. I also have a spare, a very secure little flashlight.
That's good.
That has a magnet on the back, so that you can, we use these a lot when we're loading the trailer. You can put this up, because our trailer lights don't always work.
Got it.
I carry a different flashlight just on my person, but this one stays in my work box. And that does it for what's in my Pelican. That was quite a bit.